Good morning, Florida. It's Thursday, March 26th. Um, a small apology at the beginning. I have a bit of a cold. I don't think it's the coronavirus. Yeah, I don't have a fever or anything like that. Uh, a little bit of a sore throat. It's a little bit cold here still. Um, yeah, I wanted to touch a little bit on some of the news that I've been seeing from the state. Um, and from the Czech Republic. Yesterday, we had a little bit of a spike in the new cases, um, just compared to the previous 2 days. But that statistic, it wasn't that high, but it was a little bit misleading because they also significantly increased the testing yesterday. So again, when they increase the testing, of course, they're going to catch more people than they would have had those people not been tested. But we're still about the doubling rate of the new cases. We're on the level of like doubling in 2 weeks, um, versus the United States right now, which is the curve really is getting bad in the United States. You guys now are doubling daily, which is really ugly. However, I mean, like some of the states, some of the local areas now are really starting to get serious about the specific measures which are required in order to, contain the spread as much as possible. Um, I noticed that the Florida Governor DeSantis actually is actively trying to prevent people from flying to the state. Like from New Jersey and New York, which is like basically the epicenter of the virus now in the United States. That's good. I read an article this morning that people were worried that he would be sued because of this. Um, that's ridiculous. I mean, who cares? Like that's the whole entire thing. I mean, like if he does that, which I actually recommended. I really think that at the federal level they should ban all domestic travel. I mean, I don't understand why anybody's flying anywhere now. It's so dangerous to do that. You're basically just killing people by doing that. It's horrendously selfish. That if DeSantis does that, you know, and he would get sued by somebody in the future, for violating their constitutional right to travel between the states. What kind of jury actually would? I mean, like, um, I, I don't see that as being a problem. I mean, like, first of all, what idiot would sue him? Oh, like I wanted to be on the beach, and Governor DeSantis, prevented me from like flying down to Florida on the beach. Whatever, go for it. Like I don't think that person, that decision to sue the governor of Florida based on like a public safety concern would be received warmly by anybody. Like I said before, like this is not a partisan issue. This is not a political issue. This is just this is kind of like a public health issue. That it's something that concerns all of us. So I mean, like kudos for him for finally doing something, for finally trying. Also, Hillsborough County finally got back and voted to actually have like the stay-at-home measures. I did actually write. I wrote the Hillsborough County Commission 2 days ago a really scathing email, with statistics and information about that, about for example, what we are doing here in the Czech Republic and the success that we've had here in the Czech Republic with the measures to help prevent the spread, to keep that curve as flat as possible, so our health service is not overwhelmed. Pinellas County, I also noticed that they're doing something, and they're trying to. They had the idea to create kind of like a Pinellas Hillsborough kind of like joint stay home kind of like measures. Yeah, do it. I mean, like for example, I was even thinking, block two of the bridges. Just leave the Howard Franklin open one lane in both directions and have police on both sides to check every single car that's going back and forth to make sure that those people are either using like commercial purposes, these types of things. But not just, oh, we wanted to go drive around for the beach today. No. You need to stay home. because you're trying to save lives. You know, this is not about you. This is not the time for selfishness. This is the time for, you know, coming together. I mean, I really can't imagine, like, you know, this modern American me mentality. I'm like, you know, like, I really don't think that would have worked too well during the Second World War or during, you know, the Depression. You know, we need to go back to that kind of mentality where, you know, you're putting the nation first, over your own individual desires and wants. I mean, because what you want as an individual right now is ridiculously secondary. You know, there will be a time in the future when, you know, the focus can be back on you again, but now the focus needs to be on everybody. Okay. So, like, you know, kudos to like the people in Florida now that are actually trying to slowly do things. It's still not enough. You know, you guys really still need to accelerate. You really need to get on the mask. I mean, like, I still see nobody there's wearing masks. You know, I saw that Walmart is putting up sneeze guards. You know, just put masks on people. You know, you don't need the sneeze guards that if everyone's wearing masks, and if you teach them how to, you know, you have to sneeze or cough into your sleeve. You know, these are things that we have been doing here for a while now, and you know, you guys are a little bit slow. It's starting to move, but it needs to move faster. And again, you know, call the governor's office, call your county commissioners, call your sheriffs. Don't email them, call them. You know, and get your friends to call them. You know, it is getting better. It looks like it's getting better, but you guys are still, like, I mean, it's still going to be bad. And all you can do now is try to limit how bad it's going to be. When this whole entire thing started, I was talking to my aunt and uncle, and they live in North Georgia. And, you know, they're conservative, and, you know, but, like, you know, we love each other and we don't agree on everything. But, you know, there's a lot of mutual respect. And, you know, when this whole entire thing started, you know, probably 2 weeks ago, actually, when I was talking to them. No, it was 2 weeks ago. You know, like, they started with the whole entire mask thing. My aunt is, she's, I don't know how to even say this. She makes quilts, but she's kind of like she's like a master quilt dress or something like that. You know, so she got on the whole entire thing with making the masks. And their Methodist church, you know, they kind of, you know, they stopped having the church services together, like the congregating. And they were kind of like early adapters, and, you know, they started their YouTube page where they were just kind of like, you know, broadcasting the sermons so all the people could be at home. You know, they could participate in the services, but, you know, not coming together. And, you know, I was really, really proud of them for doing that, because, you know, they were still able to worship, you know, they were still able to practice their religion, you know, but they were doing it from the privacy of their own homes to create space. So, you know, as to not kind of like spread the virus and potentially infect other people. I mean, like, you know, because their congregation, they do have, it is an older congregation, and, you know, those people are the people that, you know, we're trying to protect, and, you know, they do need to stay home. They don't need to be going to churches and stuff. So I was really shocked, you know, to see the news over the last couple of days. For example, in Louisiana, there was one church where there was a pastor who defied the state, you know, the state authorities by holding services. And yesterday in the news, you know, this pastor, you know, I'm so proud, and we had 1,000 people there. That's tragic. I mean, it's absolutely tragic. I mean, at school and with clients, you know, I've had discussions over the years trying to explain to them, you know, what is this thing about, like, the Americans and these weird churches and things, or just religion in general. And I told them, I said, well, you know, there's kind of like it's kind of 50-50. I said, you know, we have kind of like the traditional, you know, Christian churches, for example, like the Catholics, and then the mainstream Protestant churches, you know, kind of like Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, Presbyterian, apologies if I'm missing one. And I said, then you have kind of like, and I would actually add Mormons to that also, because, like, you know, sometimes I have students asking me sometimes, you know, like, if the Mormons are a cult or something, and I'm like, no. I'm like, the Mormons are kind of like the nicest people you will ever meet in your entire life, and they are kind of like absolutely the least offensive, and, you know, it's not a cult, you know, there's, you know, it's just, it's kind of like a modern version of Christianity, based in America, but they're absolutely fantastic people, and I would definitely stick them, in with the group of, mainstream kind of like normal moderate religions. And then you have kind of like the I don't want to use the word crazy, but like these like really strict evangelicals, or the Jehovah's Witnesses, which that's a cult. Scientology cult, Christian Science, dangerous cult, and then the Amish, which are fantastic, but they're really kind of like too small. There aren't a whole lot of them, but the Amish are another ones that are absolutely just like a group of wonderful people that just choose kind of like to do their thing, and they don't really affect everybody else. But this church in Louisiana, this is definitely one of those kind of like evangelical things. And the thing about a lot of the evangelical churches is, a lot of this stuff was the evangelical movement itself was started by kind of like these con artists, like we call them like revival show con artists, that started during the Depression, because like, we had these traveling carnivals and things like that. These people that would go around and, put on shows and stuff and make money. But, when the Depression started, people didn't have money for entertainments and things like that. So a lot of these guys just kind of like changed their show into traveling around with these big tents and, having these revivals and faith healing and these types of things. And, they attracted a very, very specific, sector of the population, these people that were drawn to them, faith healings and all these things. And, those people basically, this kind of like evolved and developed into this kind of like evangelical movement in the United States. And, some of the people within that movement are legitimate. I mean, I think they really do believe in, kind of like what they're selling. But there are people that historically, like television evangelists in America, that really are there just basically using God to profit personally. And some of them, they need to do things which are shocking or say things which are shocking, to become even more extremely conservative, basically to get their name in the news, to attract more followers. And of course they want you to keep giving money. Jesus wants you to give money for this, blah 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 blah. And like this man in Louisiana is definitely one of these types of people. I mean, because like that's his business. Selling God to people is his business. And when the government tells you that you need to stay at home and you can't congregate, he's not making any money. So he needs to have these church services in order for people to come there, and he's going to tell them these things like, we're going to protect you because God's going to be here with us, and we're going to protect you. There's having faith, and then there's just being kind of dumb. You shouldn't risk yourself. It's almost kind of like giving everyone heroin and saying, like, oh, we're all going to shoot up heroin and, like, God's going to protect us. I think God would be like, like, if you're going to just choose to be that stupid, I might just choose to look away for a second while you all do this stupid thing. The people should not be doing that. And then you have like Liberty University, which is another, it's a university, and I know people that actually studied there. And again, this is one of these organizations that was founded by one of these kind of like television evangelist people. And this idea that they're reopening and they're going to be having their students traveling across the United States to return to the university, and is just absurd. I mean, it's criminal, really. I mean, like, they're creating a public health hazard by having these students travel around back and forth across the United States. And then you have Hobby Lobby, which is Hobby Lobby is an American company. They sell arts and crafts things, and it's owned by this really kind of like Christian billionaire who's refusing to close his stores because I guess arts and crafts is an essential business, I guess, in his head, and he told his employees, don't worry, God's in control, or we just need to pray for our health. But then again, like if one of their employees are suspected of being ill, they get sent home, and the company is not paying for that. So the company is endangering the employees and endangering the public. I mean, and for what purpose? I mean, like, for absolutely no purpose. But this man is using Jesus, to force his workers to continue working so he can profit, because he doesn't want to lose money. And like I said at the beginning, I said this is not an attack on religion, because there are a lot of religion has a definite place in our lives, but sadly, so many people like take advantage of that. And now during the coronavirus, these people are actually endangering the public, in God's name. And, one of the things we have in America, you can see this on cars, it's like WWJD, what would Jesus do? And, I just keep thinking about that. Would Jesus open Liberty University? Would Jesus say that a national arts and crafts store is essential and worth operating and risking lives? Is that something that Jesus would do? When I was talking to my aunt and uncle, or my aunt basically, a couple of weeks ago about the whole entire thing with the having the church services on YouTube and stuff, and that was the thing. I mean, it was basically like, yeah, Jesus would approve of that. Like the whole entire thing was like, you don't have to go to church necessarily to to be saved and go to heaven or things like that. It was enough just to believe. And the fact that you are staying home and participating in a church service via the internet, I think that's actually a good thing. That's something that God would, smile upon, because, you are, you're making a sacrifice by not going to the church and and staying home, and you're not seeing your friends, but you're doing this in a way to protect other people. That's a godly act in itself. So, like, by staying home, and not going to these church things or not going to Hobby Lobby, I mean, like, in a way, this is like the essence of love thy neighbor. The Bible tells us to love thy neighbor. And the best way that you can love your neighbor right now is by staying home. Okay? And not putting them at risk. Let's see. Yeah, just the last thing, basically, quickly, is like one of my friends in Florida told me that you guys have the food delivery services there are actually quite popular. I didn't realize that. For me, it seemed kind of strange that people who live in the middle of nowhere, you could have food delivered to you. Yeah, so if you have access to those services, definitely use them. But again, just have them drop the food in front of the thing, push the bell, and tell them to kind of like goodbye through the door. Wait a couple of minutes for the wind to come and blow away any kind of like microbial particles and things like that. And then open the door, and I think you can probably pay and like tip them through electronic means or things like that. Anyway, so keep writing, keep calling your local representatives, your governors, and try to pressure them to make this more strict, because the sooner you do this, the sooner we can return to normal. Okay, so wear the masks, wear the gloves, keep safe, keep cool. Try to look at that scheduling thing to try to organize your day so you guys don't go crazy and, make matters worse. All right. Love you. I hope you all be back together again face to face soon. Bye.